Welcome to another episode of Dynamic Diecasters, where this week we're going to continue our Back to the Future DeLorean build, with this one being issues 24 through 27. And when we come back, we'll go ahead and get started on issue 24. Welcome back. Like I said before the break, we're going to be working on issues 24 through 27 today on the DeLorean build. First one being issue 24. All of them are going to be related to the engine and mounting the engine, it looks like. So we'll go ahead and get started on issue 24. There are a bunch of little parts in this, on most of these stages. So when we go through the parts, you'll see that, but let me go ahead and get them out first, and we'll go from there. Again, like they do all the time, they have these they put them in those little stage brackets in the, or whatever you want to call them, in the little plastic bags where they separate the different things for some reason. I don't know why they do that. Because it ultimately makes it very difficult to pull the parts out. But so with that, I'll go through the parts. So we've got a pulley, which it's funny because they all look kind of the same. There's like 4 parts related to the pulley, and they're all labeled pulley. So, let's see. I'll just go through them all, I guess. And there's the first one. Then here's the second one. And then, based on the way they look, here's the third one. Actually, there's 8 parts that are the pulley, so pretty much the vast majority of these are all related to the pulley. And it looks like they might have letters, well, some of them have letters on them to represent maybe what they are, or which part they represent. Like this one has an I on it, so I would envision it's 24I, but not all of them actually do have letters on them. At least as far as, well, this one says E, so maybe they do, and I just gotta read them. But all those right there are related to the pulley. Then we've got the alternator fan, and we've got the alternator, or the AC compressor belt, and the alternator belt, which they're shaped differently in the book, but they're definitely the same belts out of the box. And then lastly, we've got 3 AP screws and 1 AM screw. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started on stage 24, and when we come back, I'll show you what we did. And that was it for stage 24. So we put all the pulleys on the front. So we added them to this section here, this section here, and this section here. And then on the front right here, and added the alternator fan behind it right here. So this is the alternator, and then we added the belts. So here's the alternator belt, and then here's the AC compressor belt. So that's what we did on stage 24. Then we'll go ahead and move on to stage 25, and it's going to be more engine stuff, but I think we actually, I don't know if it's this one or the next one, we start installing the engine onto the actual chassis. But I'll go through the parts, and we'll go ahead and go through the build after that. So with that, I'll go through the parts. So for stage 25, we get 3 brackets, 2 parts for the exhaust front pipe and fixing screws. So the first we got, it looks like 3 brackets. So here's one of them, here's another one, and then here's the 3rd bracket. Then we have the exhaust front pipe right, and then we have the exhaust front pipe left. Then we've got 4 AM screws, 2 NM screws, and 3 AP screws. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started on this, and I'll show you what we did when we finish. See you in 30 seconds. And that was it for stage 25. So if you remember the brackets that I talked about, we installed them right here. So this was the left bracket, the right bracket, and then the middle bracket. And then the last thing we did was we installed the exhaust pipe. So we attached them to the manifolds on both sides. And then this one comes around to the front. So that was it for stage 25. Moving on to stage 26, it's again a more small engine parts, but I think this one might involve us installing stuff to the motor, or to the actual frame. So we'll receive parts for the silencer, the exhaust pipes and connectors, plus the fixing screws. So let me go through those, and we'll go ahead and get started on this section. You guys have been following, like with this one's following the same kind of build style that the Ecto 1 did, that I'm also building on the channel. So we did part of the frame first in that build also, and then we also built out the engine next and attached it. So it's kind of following in the same line as the Ecto 1 build. So it'll be interesting when I start the Knight Rider build, whether or not that one goes along the same realm too, even though it's a different manufacturer or a different producer, with that being Diecasters. So first one is the silencer rear, and then the silencer front. Then we've got a couple of exhaust pipes, little tiny ones. Then we've got a connector, is all it's called. And then we've got a connector left and a connector right. Then we've got a couple of boots. Then lastly, we've got a few screws. So we've got 1 AM screw, we've got 3 DM screws, we've got 5 AP screws, 2 EP screws, and then 2 FP screws. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started on this stage, and I'll show you what we did when we get back. And that's it for stage 26. So as you can see, we've mounted the engine to the frame, and then we also added the boot arm from, I think, stage 12 from the wheel hub to the engine. It also said in the instructions to do this one as well, but I haven't even gotten all the parts to do this wheel yet. I think all I got is the wheel, so I'll have to look to see if I missed something somewhere, because yeah, I would think that this one would be all there. And if that's the case, I'll just add that in when I do that particular part of the section. But the other part we added were the brackets here in the front when we mounted the engine. So that's where we're sitting as of stage 26. Now we'll move on to stage 27, which I think is just adding on more and more to the engine. and I think building up the radiator, if I remember right. So yeah, in this issue we'll receive the radiator fans, mounting brackets, and fixing screws, plus the horn for the DeLorean. So we'll get the horn as well, which it's not going to be a functioning horn, because if it's like the Ecto 1, there was a speaker that you mounted in another place. This is just for ornamental purposes, I guess you would call it. Let me get all the parts out and we'll go through them. And then this is the last stage for this episode, so we'll go and conclude it when we're finished. So with that being said, we've got the horn, which is this piece right here. And then we've got the horn bracket, which is this little piece right here. We've got 2 radiator fans. We've got the radiator back. Then we've got 2 radiator mounting brackets, which everything's plastic except for the mounting brackets. Then lastly, we've got 3 sets of screws. So we've got 3 NM screws, 1 GP screw, and then 2 HP screws. With that, we'll go ahead and get started, and in about 30 seconds, I'll show you what we did, and we'll conclude this episode. See you in a few seconds. That's it for stage 27. So that was pretty quick because we didn't have a lot to do. So first thing we did was we mounted the horn right here on the left front of the car. And then the next thing we did was we mounted the radiator mount brackets right here. And then the last thing we did was we just put together the part of the radiator. So here's the back with the 2 radiator fans when we put those in. That's pretty much what we did today. So we basically did a lot of the remaining engine work and mounted the engine to the frame. And then everything else right through here. And then last part I just showed you. So I've got somewhat of a frame at this point. Unfortunately, I think this is the last issue I have with the Eaglemoss going down. So until somebody else picks them up, this will be where my model sits for the time being. This will be where I've got it. So with that being said though, to replace the DeLorean build on the channel, I'll be doing Titanic. If you guys saw the last episode, what will replace the Ghostbusters build will be the Knight Rider build. And then when I run out of the next one, the next episode will be the Enterprise build. Once I run out of those issues, which I think I have 3 of those left at this point, we'll start the solar system build that my son got from Eaglemoss. We hadn't started on the channel yet, so we'll be starting that one. And I'll figure out something down the pipeline, depending upon the future of these builds, what I'll do to replace those. But if you guys haven't already subscribed to the channel and you like the content, go ahead and like and subscribe to our channel and hit that bell so you get notified when our videos come out. Typically, I put them out every Friday. Whatever type of video we put out, whether or not it's an unboxing day video or a dynamic diecasters. You'll start seeing brick building blitz videos for our Lego builds on the channel too. But I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and I'll see you in the next one. And for all of us at the Heart of Geek, I'll see you next time. Have a good one.